Good day, colleagues. My name is Thandokazi Ketinobi, e-learning specialist at CUTL. We're going to do the session on how to track and monitor at-risk students. As we know that our students, they are failing at some time the assessments, and then we need to monitor those students that have failed that particular assessment in order for us to give proper guidance, to give proper support, and to refer them to the necessary department for support. Now, how do we monitor or how do we track these students that are at risk? It starts with the grades that has been uploaded by the lecturers on the Blackboard system. From the Blackboard system, this is my welcome homepage. You will go to the grades and control panel. From the control panel, under the grade center, you will click on the grade center and then you click on full grade center. From the full grade center, that is where you are capturing, or under test, that is where you are capturing your marks. Now, these are the marks for the test that were written automatically by the students on the system. So by default, the system will have those marks here. But what happens if one has written test manually? So which means now the lecturer must be able to create the column for those tests that has been manually written by the students. How do you do that? You click on create column. When you click on create column, you give it a name. I will give it a name test 4. And then after you've given the name, the primary display must be score, which means that will be the raw mark that you will capture in here. That is the raw score that the student has achieved. And then the secondary display, you click on the drop down arrow and then you click on percentage. And then the points possible. How much marks was that test out of? This test of mine, it was out of 50. So now when we are saying the primary score of 50, it must be converted into percentage. The system will calculate the raw score vis-a-vis the points, and then the percentage will come. And then the options, you go down, you include it in the grade, you show to the students. You can show it if you want, but you can not show it if you are not done yet. You can click on now and then click on submit. So now I assume you have a list of columns that are already there. By default, the last column that is added on the spreadsheet or on the grade center worksheet, it goes and stays at the end. So how do you manage your columns to be in the manner that you want them to be? From these course menus, you will click on manage. From manage, you will click on column organization. Column organization, you will scroll down to the not in a grading period. These are your columns that are appearing there. There is the last column that you have just added. So you can just drag and drop to where you want it to be. I want it to be below the test 4. I want it to be below test 3. So my columns will be test 3 and test 4. Then I will be able to capture my marks in a good manner. You click on submit when you've done organizing your columns. So now you see there is column test 3 and then there is column test 4 that you have just created. Now what you are doing next is to capture those marks that you have from your spreadsheet. So this student achieved 10 out of 50 in that your test. So the system is calculating the percentage. As you can see that test 4, it has 50 points. It is graded and possible points is 50. So the percentage will be coming from that 10 over 50. This one scored 25. This one scored 41. And all these test marks that you have, you will need to capture them on the system as I am doing manually. You put in the mark and then click on enter for the marks to be captured. So these are your marks. It's a raw mark, which is the actual score, and then it's converted into a percentage. Now when you are done adding those marks, you need now to tell the system, how do I get to know the students that are below 50% from this list of students that I have. I've got more than 50, so I will have to scroll up and down in order for me to know the ones that are below 50%, which they are the ones that are perceived to be at risk. So that is whereby now the color coding comes in handy. How do you color code? So that by default, we are normally using the red color for something that is in danger. So how do we color code these our courses or our test marks columns? Then we click on manage again. From manage, you click on grading color code. From the grading color code, make sure that you activate this checkbox that says enable grading color code so that the colors can be implemented and appear on the grade center. So now when you scroll down to the grade range, you click on add criteria so that you can choose or create a criteria for these students range that you want to monitor, that you want to provide guidance and assistance to. In this case, we've got these three criterions there. We've got more than or equal to, we've got less than, and then we've got between. For the students that are at risk, they are below 50%. So we click on less than. And then less than what? In 50%, if that is the percentage that you are using in your department. Some use 40%, some use 55% to determine the students that have failed. So in this my case, I will use 50%, which is a general mark. And then the background color, that is where you choose the color palette. From the color palette, the color that is red. Red we normally associate with something that is in danger. So you click on the red color from the color palette, and then you will click on apply. Then it changes the background color, and then the text color remains to red. So this is how it will appear in your grade center. For all the students that have achieved less than 50%, they will be marked as that red, of which that is how you will be able to know these are the students that are meeting the criteria, which is less than 50%. These are the students that have failed this particular assessment. And then you click on submit. When you click on submit, by default, all those students that have achieved less than 50%, they will be highlighted as a red like that in all your test columns that you have. If you're gonna add a new column, it will also cater these red color for the students that are below 50%. You can monitor the less than, the between. You can have another color for more than, but in this case we're concentrating on the students that were perceived at failing, which is below 50%. So now this is where you are indicating, okay, these are the students that have failed. So now how do I talk to these students? How do I only get the red students from the list of the students that I have? So I need to only communicate to those students that are in red. Imagine you've got more than 100 students in your grade center that are on your grade center. So which means we have to scroll up and down so that we can see all the red students. But the system Blackboard has assisted us a lot by providing some tools and functions that will assist us to only pick those students that are at risk, that are below the criteria that we have set, which is below 50%. How do we get those students? Or before we even get to that, when you are capturing a mark, the 10, you will definitely know that this student is at risk because he received a 10 out of 50. So when you click on the drop down arrow of that particular student you are capturing the mark to, there are these options. There is an option that says quick comment. You can write a feedback to the learner immediately. You can come see me in my office, or indicate what the student as your grades are below the pass mark. whatever message that you can write feedback to the learner in this case, and then you click on submit. So that is the first intervention that you do when you're capturing the mark. So that message will be seen by only this student. So when the student Dlamini is opening his grade center, his Lentuza, his blackboard, under the marks, under his grades, under my grades, when she sees or he sees the marks, she will see the note that is written there on the quick comment. That note is only for that particular student. So that's the first intervention that we are doing when we are uploading or when we are adding the marks for our students. So in this case, these are the students that have been triggered by the system, or they've been flagged by the system as at risk. The next step will be for us to track now and monitor these students that has been flagged or triggered. So how do we reach that stage? From the control panel, you click on evaluation. From evaluation, you click on retention center. From retention center, we've got 4 rules by default: the deadline, the grades, the activity, and the access. We only monitor the students by the grades. So we need to customize our retention center. I can remove, as I've done this, and then I can remove this rule that is here so that I can show you how to create a new rule. So you can remove the rules that are there, and then we'll be creating your rule. The rule that we are working with is the grade rule. So you click on the drop down arrow on grade rule, and then you click on grade rule. You give it a name. What do you want? This one, it is done per test. You monitor per assessment. You monitor per test. I want to monitor monitor test 4. So you scroll down to the rule criteria. You monitor a specific item. We don't monitor the final grade because we need to monitor our students by the test that they write, so that we can be able to provide necessary guidance and provide necessary intervention from when we are seeing them that they are failing that particular assessment. So you monitor specific item. So you'll be doing this grade for all the tests that you have per test. Then there is test 4. You set the grade value, define the criteria now. What are you setting for? This grade is the one that is below 50. Remember that I'm looking for the students that are below 50%. And then we click on submit. Then there is the rule that have been created, monitor test 4. So you need to click on the retention center again so that it can be activated. So there are the students that are triggered or that are picked by the system as they are the ones that have met the criteria, which is below 50% on test 4. Next to each student, there is that red drop. When you click on that red dot, it will show you that this is the student that achieved below 50% for test 4. And then you are able to click on monitor, and then you on notify, and then you notify the student, you notify the observers, and then you notify student and observers. So when you monitor student and observers, that is whereby it allows you to send an email to the student that has been triggered, and also you can copy whoever that is in your line that is assisting you or working with you with these students at risk. So you will email them then. This one is individually. But when you click on this number 4, it will expand and show all the students that have met that low or that criterion that we have set. So there it is, the grades alert. There are 4 students that are below 50%. So you can click on the 4, and then these are the students, all 4 of them at once. Same, you notify, and then you click on student and observers. Then there is the email is going to all 4 of them. You can copy the person that you want to send the email to, you write their email address, you modify this message, you inform the students what is happening, and then you provide direction on where to go. You include so that you can get a copy of yourself for the email as proof, and then the last part will be the submit button. So all those students were successfully notified on what is happening on their grades. That is how we track and monitor the students that is at risk. I thank you.